going to show up there with the constable, and I'm going to pull this 4'8" little 82-year-old lady. I'm going to sit her on the curb. I'm going to lock the door and say goodbye.
Yeah.
Like every time I saw her, she said, David, I've paid you rent. You haven't.
For landlords, by landlords. The Rent Perfect Podcast with David Pickron.
Well, welcome back to the Rent Perfect Podcast. Scot Aubrey. I'm hosting today because I'm doing a follow-up to a podcast we had a few weeks ago, and we have had so many people asking, we need to know the rest of the story. So, David, a couple weeks ago we talked about maybe your biggest horror story ever as a landlord, right? In the 30-plus years, you've never had this kind of experience. And so I would love to just get an update from you on the elderly woman who you had in one of your rentals. Last time we talked, you were getting ready. You're on the verge of an eviction that was paining you deeply. I knew that. I know how much you've kind of gone through internally on putting this lady out on the street. And so, can you just give us kind of a nuts and bolts update of the logistics? What's happened since?
So, if you didn't hear the first one,
go back
let me just blatantly tell you, my first eviction in 30 years. I own an eviction company. I'm not a sensitive landlord. This isn't an eviction where they didn't pay rent. This isn't an eviction, where it was a health and safety or they were aggressive, or this wasn't something that was warranted. The situation was, it was really, I evicted a gal that I rented to for a while that I really liked, but she was 82 years old and started showing signs or in full dementia. And so in this updated, we get to hear now more crazy things that have happened.
Okay, I love it.
And some of them are embarrassing. Some of them will make me a hypocrite.
Okay.
But
I love that you're a full disclosure guy.
Yeah, and some of the things I'm going to tell you, most landlords won't tell you.
Yeah.
But let me just preface it with this. This is a great lady we're talking about. And most of the time we're like, yeah, those dang guys,
Mm-hmm.
This what's partly made it hard was she didn't know what she just flat lost it, right?
Yeah.
So I need a lot of help here. I didn't get a lot of help here, so I'll let you continue on and answer your questions.
Sure.
As you go.
So as you kind of, she has been evicted. Is that correct?
She currently is evicted and in the hospital.
Okay. Was that processed by you, or did you have to have the authorities come in and remove her from the property?
So the constables who we use, some places use the sheriff's department, whoever comes out and finally, takes the people out and hands you the keys. Ours is called a constable. It was a Friday. He was calling me. I'm coming in on Monday. Meet me there with locks, keys, change of locks.
Yeah.
I said, okay, great. But on that same Friday, after many, many prayers of like, how can I do this?
Mm-hmm.
My fear was, if you didn't listen to this first one, my fear was in Phoenix, it's 105 still. And I'm gonna show up there with the constable, and I'm gonna pull this 4'8" little 82-year-old lady. I'm going to sit her on the curb. I'm going to lock the door and say goodbye. And she doesn't even know why. Yeah. Like every time I saw her, she said, David, I've paid you rent. You haven't, right? You haven't.
It's been months.
And it had been months. And she thoroughly thought she did. I don't think she was... It wasn't, I will pay you rent. Wait till I get my paycheck like you hear often, right? It's, I've paid you. I pay my rent. I've paid my rent my whole life. You haven't.
Yeah.
And she just... So I was just dealing with... You couldn't reason with what we were dealing with. So that's the dilemma for me. So I called her friends. She was mean with them. They're like, we're not helping her. I called her kids. We've disowned our mom years ago. But on that Friday, I get a call from a nephew who lives out of state.
Okay.
And he says, David, if you'll give me a few days, I will get out there. I know my aunt, and I'll get this all taken care of. So I delayed the constable until I put him on hold until further notice, right? So her nephew's supposed to come out and Sunday. I call, hey, you got here? What'd you find out? Yeah, I haven't made it yet. My business is keeping me where I'm at. I'll be out there tomorrow. I call Monday. Yeah, no, I haven't left yet. I call Tuesday. Yeah, Dave, it looks like it'll be tomorrow. He's like, if I leave this job right now, I'm going to lose a ton of money. I said, I understand that because I'm losing a ton of money right now with your aunt, right? So Wednesday I call. He's like, actually, I broke down. He drove. And he says, I broke down, and I'm trying to get fixed. And I'm just like, oh, my goodness sakes. So anyways, finally he gets here the following Thursday. Goes into the home. Hi, Auntie. Oh, you're here. Thank you so much. I love you. She said, and this is him telling me the stories now. And by the way, this nephew's awesome. Out of this whole process, I got a really good new friend.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
We actually worked together on this instead of fought each other.
Right.
And I'm kind of not saying names just to protect, everybody's identity. But this guy ended up being like just really just a great person. So it's kind of funny that I had the first eviction in 30 years, and yet I loved every party that was in this eviction, and yet it's a horror story.
Yeah, you love the situation, but you like the people.
Kind of weird, but so he comes in and she says, "Are you here to take me out of my house?" And he says, "Yes, Aunt. We've got to get you another place." And he said, just instantly, she turned on him. "You are not my nephew," and she started going on this ranting and raving about, I am not leaving this house, and I paid my rent. And he said she grabbed the coffee pot, the glass coffee pot, and said, "I'm going to break this over your head." And he says, "That's funny, Auntie. When I was 12, you spanked me with a pan. Do you remember that?" And he said she kind of recognized, like,
yeah.
And so that kind of calmed her down, like, you are my nephew. You're not an imposter.
Yeah.
But he got done with that conversation. He went outside and called me and said, "Dave, I see exactly what you're saying now. She's not there."
Yeah, she's slipping, yeah.
And so he felt inspired to call the paramedics. And he just said, "Hey, you need to come evaluate her." It's the only way he felt like he could get her out of the house to then start cleaning up and get me in. And anyways, they take her to the hospital, and they find out that she had 4 strokes.
Oh, wow.
4 strokes in the last 2 months, right? So physically, things are going on in this. This isn't,
And she lives by herself, so there's nobody for her to report.
Now you're going to ask some questions in the future, and you're going to see where I made a ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
Everything right now is like, oh yeah, this is kumbaya, right? But I made some mistakes here, so we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Anyways, we go in. He finally gets a power of attorney, so he can represent her. So now I can take his, we're out of here, everything legally. Before I was like, she still could come back and say, hey, I didn't, Anyway, so he gets a power of attorney. So he says, hey, I got a whole place to do, and I'll take care of it. And I'm like, one man cannot clean the whole house out, right? So I brought over a small army, some dumpsters and stuff. And just to give you an idea what it kind of looked like that day. After moving a couple pieces of furniture out of the house, I had to go outside and physically get sick. Like, not just gag.
Right.
Physically get sick because she was such in a wrong place, to say it nicely, that she didn't mean to, but she probably forgot where the bathroom was.
Yeah.
And so this was, I don't want to say a hoarder's nightmare, but if you're a landlord out there, this was one of those places where you walk in, you smell pee, whether it's the cat or her or this was a very disgusting scenario, right? And once again, I'm not blaming her in these circumstances. Wasn't intentional. She wasn't out to get me. But then she had this cat. And when a cat gets too old, it quits grooming itself. And I looked underneath this. Well, first of all, I was like cleaning up some stuff, and this thing moves on the bed, and I'm just like I jump, like there's something living underneath there, and I kind of peek at it. And this thing was like a horror film cat,
right?
And I'm like, I go to her nephew, we got to deal with this cat, man. Anyways, so I let him deal with the cat. I didn't take care of it, but he humanely dealt with the cat and got the cat out of there. But Scott, this was so bad that I had our handyman. I said, I don't want the toilet cleaned. I just want you to replace it with a brand new toilet. It's that bad.
Yeah.
She poured the coffee down the white sinks that were underneath the granite, the under counter sinks that you just can't replace.
Right.
And it stained those from white to like that brown.
Right.
Right. I wish
Coffee
I'd
stain, yeah.
I wish I had stainless steel or something in there, but
Right.
I didn't at this point when it was there when I bought the property. So that was all. So there was just a lot of damage in there and a lot of hard. That was a hard couple days.
Yeah.
Just getting her out of there. You know.
I can imagine. Well, I'm glad that she's getting taken care of and that you've got your property back and can at least have a glimmer of hope as you look forward. So 3 questions I just want to hit with you real quick. What were the red flags as you look backward, right? Monday morning quarterbacking this and going, man, how did I miss that, right? So were there any red flags that jumped out at you as you look backwards that you kind of went, oh, for whatever reason, I just missed those?
I think there were a lot of things. When I talk to landlords around the country, I don't know that there's any one big mistake they make. They make little mistakes, and little mistakes lead to little mistakes, and next thing you know, you're deep into something that you would have never got into if it would have been confronted to you all at one time.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how she slipped through my policies, and I'm a big policy guy. I'm a big procedure guy. You do this, you clockwork, you treat everybody the same, right? But I do short-term, mid-term, and long-terms. This gal came in on a mid-term 5-month rental, prepaid me up front, 81 years old at that point.
Yeah.
Said she just sold her home for $345,000, owned it cash, has money in the bank, gonna buy another home. I'm thinking interesting at 80, right? But remember, she's at full faculties now. I mean, she's a normal.
This is a year plus ago.
Yeah, this is great, And so pays me up front 5 months. And then as we get towards the 5 months, I say, hey, what are you planning on doing? This place is actually rented now after 5 months. I have another renter coming in. Yeah. We rent to the winter visitors up north in Canada, and they pay me a ton of money per month, way more than she does. And so you don't want to miss that high season, right? So she says, well, I haven't found my place yet. But she lived in a 2-story, and when I would go in to visit her, when I went up the stairway, I would feel the stairway rail, and it was just like coming off the wall, and I could tell she was just putting so much of her weight on this chair rail, and I'm like, yeah, she's leaving, I got to fix this chair rail. But when I talked to her, she's like, I love it here, I love this, it's in a condo, I love it here, I love the golf course, this is just my dream situation. Well, I happen to have a single story on the bottom floor, come up, total fluke.
Same complex.
Just right down the road. Yep. And I said, hey, you know what? You've been great. You prepaid your rent. This point, the house is clean, taken care of. I'm in it. I'm smelling it. Everything's great. So we moved her over into this single story, 2-bedroom, and she loved it. The problem is where I made the mistake was at no point did I ever run any kind of checks on her because she came in on a midterm.
Yeah. Prepaid,
that age. Probably at that time wasn't getting a whole lot of interest for a 5-month, lease. I mean, I probably could have rented it for a year or two, but I wanted it empty when
your winter visitors
came down. And so probably there's a little bit of desperation there, kind of fit in the hole. And so, I think, hey, at 80 years old, what am I going to find? I do backgrounds for a living, right? What am I going to find? And so I didn't do that. And when I moved her in from the midterm into the long term, I should have stopped and said, hey, it doesn't matter the age. It doesn't matter if she's already prepaid 5 months. You should go through the whole background check process before you offer her a long term.
Right.
If I would have done that, and if I would have run the background, because now I've run the background. Right?
Oh, yeah.
She had 7 foreclosures in the last 10 years. She did have a house worth that much money, but she kept getting second mortgages and living off of the second mortgages. And so by the time she sold it, it wasn't free and clear.
Yeah.
It had a lot of money. In fact, she had like $30,000 in the bank, and I think when she prepaid those 5 months, she gave me like a $15,000 or $16,000 check. So now all of a sudden she's got 15 or 16 in the bank, enough to make rent for a while.
Yeah.
And then the money dried
up. Yeah.
Now remember, as I'm going through this, and she can't remember if she paid rent or not. I didn't know. Does she have that $300 in a bank account? She just doesn't remember. But as the nephew came down, got the power of attorney, went to the bank. He's like, Dave, she's got nothing.
Yeah.
Got nothing, which is sad, So she would order, food from DoorDash or whatever, and the amount of money she spent on that because she couldn't leave, and she just kind of piled through there. So if I would have done a bank verification, got her bank statement like I usually do, I would have done the credit. I would have seen this. Criminal, I wouldn't have found anything that would concern me criminally.
Right.
But still, I think I would have said, "Oh, that $307,000 you're telling me in the bank, prove it," and I didn't.
Yeah.
And here I think that I'm the smartest guy in the world with what I do, and when you don't follow your policies and stay consistent, no matter what, I don't care if they're 80,
90, 1,000, yeah.
Stick with it. When you think you're smarter than your system, you might just get burned, right?
Yeah.
You think you have that ultimate gut feeling, and I hear that all the time as I go out on the road and speak. Oh yeah, no, my gut, they were good people, right? The last one I was in Omaha. Omaha RIA, by the way, is awesome. If you live in Omaha, you have got to get to this Omaha RIA. These guys are phenomenal, guys and gals, phenomenal. But at the end of my presentation, a guy stands up, and he's going to ask me a question. He says, well, this is more of a statement. I've been using Rent Perfect for 10 years. He's like, guys, this is the real deal. You need to use Rent Perfect. I love it. They've done everything. He's like, I've had one eviction in 10 years, and it was the eviction where I had the friend who said, oh, I've got a friend. He'll be a great renter. And I didn't use Rent Perfect. And now he's asking me, how can I find out where I work so I can garnish his wages? And he's going after his judgment, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I'm not the only one. I mean, there are times when we think that we're smarter than our systems, but create a criteria, get a system like Rent Perfect down, and just stick to it every single time. Like Fair Housing is telling you have to do that anyways. But every once in a while, we kind of just, think we're smarter.
I love that story because here's how I look at it. I'm either going to do the work on the front end, or the back end. And the back end, trying to garnish somebody and chase money, boy, that's not a very fun part of the landlord experience. So you've already answered my second question, is what would you have done differently? I kind of answered that as we talked about red flags. So last question I have for you is there's a cost, right? There's a cost involved in this. There's a financial cost, but I know because I've watched you go through this and we've had pretty good conversations on this. There's an emotional, right, or a mental cost also that you've kind of gone through in this, and it's been difficult. So financially, I mean, give me a number.
So let's talk about the easy part first, the money.
Yeah.
I mean, we can, I'm a analytical guy. I could take a rent, times it. I know my mortgage payment, my HOA payment. I was paying. Do the maths. Yeah. I did all the math, and after a year and a half and 3 months not getting paid rent, I did not make any money in a year and a half on the property. I didn't make any money. Yeah. So financially, by the time I turned it, cleaned it, it was not a good investment. Just because I ate that last bit of rent, but then the turn actually cost me quite a bit, right? So I'm probably about $2,000 in the hole by the time I add up all the rent, all the mortgage, minus the rent I lost and the turn. Okay, I can live with that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That comes and goes, yeah.
Not every investment's a home run or even a moneymaker, right? I mean, that's okay. It's my first one in 30 years, so my wife and I say, should we cry about it or should we say, dang, we had a long run there,
celebrate,
right? Let's have a long run there.
Yeah.
And so, but emotionally, I think when I was in my 20s and 30s, I called my attorney, who I love. He's an awesome guy, like one of my favorite guys in the world. And he's just like, there's no answers here. Just throw her out. And I called the constable, and we don't call anything. By the way, in the first episode, I think you heard, did we get to I called adult protective services? They came out, right?
That,
I can't remember where the story ended and began at that point. But, I called family and people on our application, and I called this adult protective services, and they tried to help. They had a place for her to go, and she's like, I am not going. I am not leaving. And she's like, Dave, we can't forcefully make her go, right? So I tried all these things, and so in my 20s and 30s, I think I would have said, just get out. Like I would have drove away and said, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not my grandma.
Yeah.
You know, not my mom. But as I get older, and I'm not all about the dollar bill, I'm about people and relationships. I just kept having this vision in my mind of just driving away, seeing her in the rearview mirror, not knowing that no one was there to help her.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm learning. I'm getting a little softer as I get older. But yeah, this was sleepless nights. This was prayers. This was, what do I do? You know, I did everything I thought I could do, and then I pictured this news story at night. You know, landlord leaves an 82-year-old lady out on a 105-degree sidewalk. You know, which would give us all a bad name.
It's a black eye for everybody.
But then yet on the other side, I have my own mother and my own family that I have to take care of. I'm not looking to take care of somebody else's where the kids bail and disown their mom, friends bail. And when things were good, yeah, it was great. But now that she's got some dementia or some problems, everybody runs because there's no value to them anymore. And so I just struggled with a lot of these thoughts. And it's actually weird for me to hear me say that, because my whole life I've been pretty much, and I'm not proud of it, but I have been pretty much, hey, you know, hey, tough luck.
Yeah.
Life is
Maybe
life.
a little callous. Yeah.
And so I kind of love that I'm here mentally, but it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, especially when you can't seem to get the help. And I had all kinds of friends around this country reaching out to me. I had a situation like this. I called Adult Protective Service too. And they were kind of giving me, you know, all of their insights. And so I know I'm not the only one out there. But ultimately what Adult Protective Services did do is it helped her nephew get a power of attorney.
Okay.
Because when he put her in the hospital, the doctor says now mentally she can't sign a power of attorney because she doesn't know what she's doing. And Adult Services said that doctor's wrong. If she doesn't sign the power of attorney, no one can help her. Right? This wasn't a nephew coming into town to take her money. This is a nephew coming into town to help his aunt, and Adult Protective Services understood that. So they helped him get that power. And once we had that power of attorney and he could make the decisions, this thing was easy and done and over, right? Yeah. So anyways, I hope there's some stories in there or some part of my story that helps if people get in a similar situation. I know we have with the baby boomers, a growing older generation. And one thing to deal with it with your own mom and your own dad or grandma and grandpa or whatever part of life you're in. But it's another when you really have a tenant going through this that you really don't have an obligation outside of this relationship.
Right.
What do you do? It gets difficult.
Yeah.
So sorry to be a little wordy on you.
No, you're good. Well, I, for one, love and appreciate the kinder, softer, gentle David Pickron.
You've known me my whole life.
The more mature version of you. So, hey, everybody, I hope you understand, you know, this is a tough business sometimes. There are those decisions that they fall outside of the business side of things and it becomes personal. So please like and subscribe what you're seeing. Go back and check back some of our old episodes. And until next time, continue to rent perfect.